Welcome back, everybody, to this Shipper Update. I'm Zach Strickland here with Chief Economist Anthony Smith, who had just pulled some numbers and facts for us today. I saw him on his iPad right now. Anthony, what do we got?
Zach, I was talking about this earlier this week. This is a huge week in releases, and I know
you were excited earlier.
I am excited about it, and I know it's Thursday, and typically on Thursdays we talk about, hey, it's initial jobless claims day, but there's just so much to jump into, and we're starting off with retail sales, which increased 0.3%. Now, earlier in the week, I was talking about expectations for retail sales, where I thought it was kind of going to land, and one of the things I was saying, hey, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was just like a moderating slight increase. I put my max at 0.5, so 0.3 isn't too, out there of like, oh wow, this is really slow or really low. I think it's kind of impressive because we did see
0.3% increase year over year.
We did not have a 0.3% over year, but we did see that we had the 3.4% increase last month. And so that was a substantial rise. And if we kept that momentum on a month-to-month basis and still kind of increase a little bit more in the face of increasing inflation, that is a pretty impressive feat. So when I'm looking at this number, I'm not saying, oh, wow, we slowed. I'm like, wow. We really kept growing.
We maintained.
Yeah. And the other big thing is we have to also keep in mind what seasonality is looking like here, where some of the increases are coming from inflation as well. So these are seasonally adjusted numbers, and you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt as well, but we have to look at the overall growth trend. Moving into our next chart here, this is one of those areas where I was looking at closely, and this is, I think, what I pulled up first on Monday for retail sales was retail sales for non-store retailers. This one was down around 3.2%, I believe. I got to double check the numbers, but I know it was at least 3%. And so we also saw some downward movement over the same time frame in our van outbound volume index. I'm not saying that the two are one-to-one correlations, but we did see that downward movement. And this is going to be ones that I was watching closely. And this is one of those areas where it did see some downward movement indeed.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me because I brought this up earlier on the carrier update that you missed. Thanks for leaving me abandoned. But the fact that everybody's starting to go back into the office is kind of one of these triggers in the macroeconomic environment. The fact that everybody is going to have like less time to kind of do things, they have to now travel in and out of the office. We've talked to a lot of people that are now fully back in. It's a requirement, and it's not necessarily a total work from home. So I feel like there's going to be some erosion in our demand side because of that fact. Do you think that that's already being reflected in this number?
Oh, for sure. I think, and this is the other big thing is that when we're looking at what's going on with retail sales, we're looking at what's going on with any other major index or macroeconomic growth. This was a lot of stuff that we called about, hey, there's going to be some slower growth. And I think the other mindset that we have to be cognizant of is being too quick to blame what certain circumstances are doing to the overall economy a little bit too soon. We do know that there's going to be some pressure coming from the Ukraine-Russia conflict right now, but is that showing up in the data just yet? Not so much, and so we have to see what's going on right now, and I think we really did a good job of laying down some of the foundation of what's to be expected for that first quarter. And so when we're looking at on our next chart, Zach, this is one that's interesting. Retail sales at gas stations. And so
you don't even have to show me. I don't even have to turn around to see this one.
That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is in this orange line, we have the PPI in here. And look at this correlation here, showing how quickly those producer prices get passed along to those retail sales at gas stations. So this is another one where you have to say, hey, retail sales did bump up 0.3%, but so and did inflation, it also increased quite a bit. So we're also looking at how much more people are paying for things as well. So that's where some of the bite kind of comes into it as well.
Yeah, this is fascinating because of the price of gas. I mean, oil, obviously energy, no big shock here, contributes to inflation dramatically. But this one, this one's pretty strong, especially, but I still have to sit back and say, like, there's all this stuff that shows up later in the consumption cycle. Like the price of gas, yes, it's super expensive now, but I would think that wouldn't erode demand right away. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that's something that shows up. Like you look at your checking account, you're like, oh wait, now I don't have money.
And we got to think about because, hey, there's a lot of things that get pulled forward, and sometimes financial decisions are one of them. We just saw the Fed increase the interest rates 25 basis points, I believe. But really, there was a reaction with an anticipation of that ahead of time. We're talking about some of the housing starts and permits numbers where there may have been a pull forward in some of that potential activity as well. So I think that's a great point indeed.
Yeah, a lot of everybody getting ready to get ready.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point. Well, thank you so much, Anthony Smith, for that. We'll toss it back over to Mike and Kaylee.